Blackpool's quite a high deprived area. The church that we're actually in now, we were doing a meal for the homeless from there, and that was it really, and food. But we wanted to do more than that. We felt we needed to do more than that. Housing, food, clothing, anything at all. So we were looking for a building, and we'd looked around Blackpool for probably a year, not seeing anything. We pulled into the petrol station one morning and Jackie said, look, across the road there, that's for sale. So we rang the estate agents and asked if we could have a look at it. They came out, showed us round, we said we wanted it. And we kept looking, trying to wait for the finance, nothing happened. But we knew God said we were in that building. Then one night I was asleep and I got woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning because God said to me, email Green Pastures. It was a hotel, something they'd never done before, an ex-hotel. They normally just bought houses. They came out and said, yep, which gave them about 5 weeks, I think, to buy it. And still, they managed to do it. It was definitely God. It wasn't us.
The first side where the guys were going to be, we had that side, and then right next to it was the cafe. And then the other side of that was another room which we used as a training room. And then above, then there were obviously rooms for all the guys.
We got the property to do supported housing with and start to get people back on the feet, helping them to get a job, helping them to get a lifestyle back. People who'd been on the streets, helping them to remember what it was like to start looking after themselves, to rebuild skills.
We had a gentleman who was in the RAF. He found himself on the streets. He was estranged from his family. His life has changed because he loves the guys that are living in the same building as him, and he feels like he's got a role to play. He takes them shopping. They all cook roast dinners for Sunday, and they all sit round and have it. And it's lovely to watch them, see them grow and change. First guy that we had in, we had the joy of leading him to the Lord, which was absolutely lovely. I don't think he understood what love was, but he saw and could realise there was more to life and that God loved him.
So we opened the community cafe, we did breakfast for £1.50. We opened a food pantry and we ran that from there, taking people back into work, putting families back into work. So we began to work with families and we've not looked back.
It was like God was sharing and birthing the next stage for us, because God was saying to us, your season has changed and it's time to let somebody else move on in that building, doing what I want them to do, and they're ready.
Jackie is past retiring age and I've just come to retiring age now this year, which is why we've passed it on this year really. We want to do something, but neither of us can be as committed as we have been to doing the amount of things that we were doing in the one point. We needed to take our time and to channel it where we thought God was moving us to. And we've been working an awful lot over the last 2 years with refugees, helping them to integrate into this country. We've also got the mobile food pantry now, so we actually go out with that. We deal far more with families now, with the meals that we do in here, with the school uniforms that we give out for free and everything else. It was just the right timing. We didn't feel that we were using the building to its full capacity for what it was useful for. We then approached Paul Rawson of Street Angels. The reason we approached Paul was because about 3 years before, he had said to us, I wish I'd got a building like this. If ever you give this building up or when you retire and you think of giving the building away, will you remember I've asked you? And because we know him well and we have a good relationship with him, we were able to work together to facilitate between us that actual takeover happening. We went to him because we know his heart. Not because he does what we do. He doesn't work with families and children. He works with a different clientele. But we knew his heart and we know that his heart's for community. And I would suggest if anybody is thinking God's moving you somewhere else and you need to transition, then look for somebody who you know the heart. God's Spirit will prompt you. You soon know people's heart when they share their vision. And as that vision shared, you know they're the right person to move on, and God will do the rest.
We have to be prepared to let go, because quite often we can hang on to things that we shouldn't be hanging on to, because we say, well, God gave it to us. It's not time yet. But actually God said, it's time. And Paul will do a fantastic thing in there. Different to us, but I don't want him to be us. And he does things that I couldn't possibly do. I could not be out on the streets at 2 o'clock in the morning and being polite to anybody. Whereas he can, because that's what God's called him. Actively look, because God will have somebody, but you just have to let God be God.
It's hard to see it empty, it's hard to see the change in that sense, but to see it carrying on being used and seeing it doing something different is also good, because you're not only a part of what you've done in that building, but we look at it as being a part of what they're doing as well. There's a sign at the front of that property that lights up that says, sharing the heart of God in the heart of Blackpool. And Paul's leaving that sign because no matter who has that property, no matter where it goes, as long as that sign's out there, it's still doing God's work in Blackpool.